Hello class, this is my final presentation for Cloud Administrator Essentials. So today I'm gonna talk about all the concepts I have been learning this semester, especially with AWS Cloud. So let's start. So why we have to use AWS? AWS offers a global infrastructure which is really good because it doesn't matter about the size of the company that we are handling. It doesn't matter if it's a big company or little company, the information always gonna be available. Also, Amazon treats the information in these 5 characteristics: flexible, reliable, scalable, secure, and network performance. So what it means that all these characteristics gonna be applied to our information. Also, if we want to scale our operations, is really easy because it provides a worldwide customers all around the world, and expand our operations is going to be really easy for us. Also, it provides more than 35 geographic regions and more than 100 availability zones. Okay, before, if you wanted to implement this kind of system in your company, you used to have buy physical servers, which it was really expensive and hard to scale. But with the AWS, everything changed because all the resources are available on internet. So one of these service which I would like to talk is Amazon S3, which is a service that provides storage for all kind of files. It could be videos, it could be images, it could be documents. It doesn't matter about this kind of the files and the size of it. All of these files gonna be saved in a bucket. And what is a bucket? The bucket is all the type of files that are saving there, and all the type of files that are called objects. So which are the main characteristics that we could do with Amazon S3? So it's a high durability of the data, access to this data everywhere, automatic scalability, and also it allows us to post static websites in our system. Also, other functions that S3 offers is the versioning, the encryption, and the life cycle policies. So this was one of the services that Amazon provides. Also, we have Amazon S3, EC2, Amazon RDS, which are the databases that Amazon provides. So previously I talked about the Amazon availability zones. So it means that people who is it doesn't matter where, in which part of the world is, the information in Amazon is gonna be available because Amazon has physical servers spread out all around the world. So it allows to the user execute applications in really easy way in Amazon S3 because Amazon handles the data in efficient and in a really secure way. Now let's start with our concept, which is AWS Global Infrastructure. AWS has a data centers spread out all around the world, and they have 2 concepts, which is called the regions and the availability zones. The availability zones are data centers that are inside of a region, and each region have different availability zones, which each one is separate physically of each one. These data centers are connected between them using a faster and secure network. So it allows them execute applications in multiple regions and zones, avoid fails in the system, and maintain the service working even if one of these zones fails. Also, Amazon provides other concept, which is Amazon Scaling AWS, which they offer 2 kinds of scales, which is the vertical scaling, which is increase the capacity of your server, and horizontal scaling, which is add more servers and power computing on your app. So let's do an example. So if you're using one server in a zone, and this zone something wrong happened and is not working, your website stop working, right? But with AWS you can execute your application with multiple availability zones, and if something wrong happened in any of these zones, the websites could still working because your app is working in multiple regions and ability zones, so it prevents an unexpected stop. Also, if you have more traffic in your website, you can scale automatically because Amazon could add more servers. So talking about that, now let's start with cloud economics and billing. Before, if you want to have your own infrastructure, you have to spend a lot of money. Even if that infrastructure it was not enough, you have to spend a lot of money. But with AWS, this model changed, which is like a pay but what you use. It means that you only pay by the resources that you're using. This has a lot of benefits, like you don't have to spend a lot of money when you start. You just pay what you use, and you can scale without like risking a lot of money. So AWS measure the use of the services that you're using, like for example in EC2, S3, or the databases. So also AWS offers a AWS pricing calculator, which this allows you to estimate the costs before implementing the solution. Like, let's do an example. Like, for example, you have a virtual store and you have like not too much clients, not too much customers. So this means that you're gonna pay like little because you don't have too much clients or visitors in your store. So if the users increase, AWS scale automatically for you, and you just pay for what you use, and the rest you're gonna have your stable billing. So this model that AWS proposed, it allows to the companies be more efficient in a financial way. So which means like you could pay just only for what you use, allowing the growing of them without big inversion. Also, other topic that we're gonna talk about is AWS cloud security. So the security in the cloud is really fundamental point, because in theory everything is accessible through internet. So AWS is in charge to handle and maintain the physical infrastructure, and also AWS give you the option to the user have to protect their own data and the access. That's why AWS create AWS EAM, which is Identity and Access Management. This is a service that AWS provide, which allow you to control who can access between you and your AWS account. So you could create multiple roles like users, which is like the person who access to your system, the role, which is like temporary permission that you give to the user to your app, and the politics, which are the rules that define the permission that you give to certain users. So let's put an example. Let's say that you have an online store and you want to have different people working with you. So you have to create an administrator, a developer, and an employee that he have to handle certain products. So with EAM, you can give them access and allow them, like for example the developer, to work in certain part of your system and limit the access that you give them to all your users. So EAM is a fundamental part of AWS because it allows you protect the access to your AWS account in a secure way, making sure that each user that logging in your system just have certain permissions. So now let's talk about the networking and the content delivery in AWS. So AWS offers a service called VPS, which is a virtual private cloud. It allows you to launch servers, define cool access to your VPA, or control the traffic from coming and out from your app. Inside of the VPS, you can also create a subnets, rules, security rules, and network routes. So this part have two subcategories, which is the troubleshooting VPS, which consists in identifying problems on connectivity inside your app, like for example certain security rules that are wrong configured, uh, closing ports, or certain trouble routes that you didn't define. So AWS helps you to configure that and making sure that all the resources are connected between each others. Also, we have VPC peering, which allow you to connect two or more VPCs between them and connect and have a communication between them in a private way. So this is like really useful when you have, like, for example, two apps like the production and development, which you want connect between everything between each others, or when you need like two applications be connected between each others. So let's do a little example in this part. So you have your app, you have your website, and you have your databases. So with this, with the VPC peering, you can connect everything between each others in a security way, control the traffic, and connect your system in an efficient way. So also you could create a public subnet and a private subnet that you could share different types of data in a public and a private way. So this is really useful when you want like connect two different or more different services. So now let's start and talk about compute in AWS. So what exactly is compute? This is where all the information is getting processed. So in this case, AWS offers you multiple ways to execute your applications. So you can create your own service directly and have total control of it, or you can let AWS handle it by yourself automatically. So in this case, AWS offers multiple services like EC2. This is where you can create your own servers in the cloud. So first you can choose your own operating system. You can configure the resource that you need by yourself, like the CPU or memory, and you can have fully control of what is happening to it. There we have AWS Lambda. It is like a server which like allow execute the code by itself without administrate any server. So in this case, if you want like upload any task but it run automatically, you can do it by yourself. So like let's say an example, like when a user submit a file, or when you want the app do something like execute certain solicitation or any permission. Then we have Elastic Beanstalk, which is like the way that you can deploy your applications without any configuration, like by your side. So AWS handle and configure all these parts for you, like the servers, the development environment, and the scale. So let's do an example. So if you want to have a totally control of your website, you can choose EC2. If you want like something just for handle certain tasks, you could use Lambda. And if you want to deploy your app really fast without any configuration by your side and everything set by AWS, you can use Elastic Beanstalk. So now let's talk about a little bit about the databases. So in the databases, you can store your information, organize and consult the information in efficient and a faster way. So you can save all this data, like for example your products, your users, orders, all kind of information inside databases. So in this case you can use AWS, and AWS could help you. Other point to remark is that the databases should not be exposed to the public users. So it should be running in a private networks or subnetworks inside of the VPS. So it means that only certain users and servers could access just with authorized access. Also, you have to create a security groups and rule network inside of your databases. So AWS offers two ways of how you can create your own databases. In this case, is using Amazon RDS, which are the AWS databases that handle by itself. So you don't have to configure nothing, just launch the information you want to grab. Or you can do it using Amazon EC2, installing by yourself your own database engine which you need, but it means you have to get like a lot of responsibility by your side because it's doing something by yourself. So now let's move forward and let's go to storage. The storage is something fundamental inside of organization because there is the way of how you can save your own data. So in this case, Amazon offers Amazon S3, which is the way of you can save your information base in objects that we talked already before. And then you have Amazon EBS, which is the way of how you can save your information base in blocks. So the way how this works is like you have a hard virtual disk where all the information gonna be saved in a blocking way. So there you can do a lot of things like save your own operator system, you can save the data of your apps, and you can maintain the information inside your app if something wrong happened in the server. Also, it allows you to create a snapshot and scale the size of your storage inside your app. Also, there offers you other characteristics. Some of them are encryption, access control using EAM, and backups. So let's do a little example. Let's say you need to save all your information, and you can use EBS for save all the data of your app. Also, you need to create security copies of it, so you can use snapshots. Also, you can encrypt all the data that you have, and using EAM for handle or gesture all the access controls of your user. So now we talk about this, let's move forward and let's talk about cloud architecture. So the main goal of a cloud architecture is build a scalable and available system all the time. Have a good architecture implies like using different resources at the same time, distribute your resources to avoid failings, and design thinking about the scalability in the future. So AWS offers you a product. In this case is Amazon EFS or Amazon Elastic File System. In this product you can share files between different instances, or you can scale automatically and also access data in a symmetric way. That means between different parts. So comparing to Amazon EBS that is just connected to one instance, Amazon ETF you can connect to different instances at the same time. So let's do an example. With Amazon EFS you can share your file between different servers. So that means that different users or servers can access your information at the same time. And there you can save any kind of information, images, files, or any kind of data between different servers. So now let's move forward and let's go to our final topic, which is auto-scaling and monitoring. Amazon allows application to scale automatically using Amazon auto-scaling. So what exactly it means? So it means if the demand got high, Amazon could create automatically more servers to supply this demand. And also if the demand goes down, Amazon delete all the resources that you don't need. Also we have Amazon auto healing. It means that it could detect failings automatically and let you know, and also could replace it by itself. Also we have other service called load balancer, which distributes the traffic between different servers, allowing you improving the performance and avoiding overload just one server. Also we have auto scaling, which is like adding more servers automatically and distribute the traffic automatically too. Also Amazon use certain service called CloudWatch. So with this we can control the CPU use, the traffic, and the performance of the app. So let's do an example. Let's say you have a certain website that you're gonna have like high demand. So if something goes wrong, Amazon could replace by itself using Amazon auto healing. And using Amazon CloudWatch, you can control the whole system and send you alerts if something is not working correctly. So now that we have been talking about all these topics, you can have a clear idea why you have to use AWS for your organization. All of these are the topics we have been learning in this semester. So I hope now you have a clear idea of why you have to use Amazon AWS Cloud. Thank you very much.